ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football overtime. Cowboys, Steelers. Iconic matchup. I hadn't realized that it had been since 1982 since these two teams locked horns on a primetime setting. That's actually pretty odd when you think about the popularity of these two teams and how much they move the needle. I'm shocked that the NFL hasn't put these two against one another in a primetime setting since 1982. That's crazy to me. But nonetheless, I'm watching the end of this game, and I said, look, I don't give a shit what happens. Who wins? This mother effer better not go to overtime, okay? After sitting through an hour and 30-minute delay and these two teams using timeouts and guys getting injured and Mike McCarthy, the Hamburglar, challenging plays that aren't even close and all kinds of stoppages for no reason. I'm like, this bitch better not go to overtime. At this point, I don't give a shit who wins. This shit cannot go into overtime. And the Cowboys won the game 20-17. I owe the Cowboys an apology because on Thursday Night Football last week, I said, you just played a Pittsburgh Steelers game and you're not very good at it. You're not going to beat the Steelers at their own game. And tonight, the Dallas Cowboys went into Pittsburgh, down Michael Parsons and Tank Lawrence, among other guys. Their secondary is ravaged as well. And they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at their own game. Touche. Touche to the Dallas Cowboys. They should not have won. When you turn it over 3 times, twice of which in the red zone, you don't deserve to win. I have to say this. The Pittsburgh Steelers are ass. I'll tell you a quick story. Maintenance man came over to the house the other day. He was fixing one of the fixtures. And he said to me, I had on my whole, Washington Commanders garb because I was about to do a video. And he said, oh, you a Commanders fan? Y'all started off nice this year. So we get to talking. I said, you said y'all. Means you're not a Commanders fan. Who's your squad? And he said, I'm a Steelers fan. I said, okay. Y'all started off nice too. Y'all 3-1. He said, and when he did that, I knew exactly why he did that. I said, you ain't sold on the offense. He said, man, hell nah. This shit ain't gonna last. He's not wrong. And I don't think that Russell Wilson is going to fix it. We'll get to the Steelers. To the victors go the spoils. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys here. Big win for Dallas. Look, I don't know if what they're doing here is sustainable. I look at Dallas and I don't think they're a good football team right now. But maybe it's because I've gotten spoiled over the years of seeing them play a certain way. And now they're not playing that way. And so they're winning in this gritty, all hands on deck, just find a way to get it done type of manner. And while that's cool against teams that can't score, that are offensively challenged like the Giants and the Steelers, I don't know if they'll be able to get away with this type of performance, turning it over 3 times on the road against, I don't know if they're on the road next week against Detroit. I think they're at home. They got to be at home. I don't know if they're going to get away with that at home against Detroit. The San Francisco 49ers, all bets are off. I don't know what the hell the 49ers are. So all of a sudden, this stretch that we talked about that was murderer's row, look, the schedule for the Cowboys is just tough overall. So it's not like it's just this one stretch, and if they could get through this stretch, they'll be fine. It's just tough opponent after tough opponent after tough opponent, and they're going to have to figure it out. But they figured it out the last 2 weeks. And in this league, this isn't college football. You don't get points for winning in style or blowing anybody out. A 1-point win is just as good as a 30.1 win. It all counts the same. And this isn't left up to the discretion of a board Just win, put it in the left-hand column and move on. And that's what they did tonight. By no means was this pretty, but it was definitely gritty and a dub. I thought Dak Prescott, outside of turnovers, and you can't say that, right? You can't say outside of the turnovers. They were bad turnovers, right? But outside of the turnovers, I thought he played well tonight. Threw for almost, 350? Did he go for 352? Couple of touchdowns. Yeah, the 2 interceptions were bad, and the fumble might have been even worse. But they overcame that. And again, they were playing the right team to be able to get away with those types of mistakes and still feel like they could win the game. A better opponent, one that could score the football. I don't know if this game is close with all the mistakes. Dallas had how many penalties in this game? Like, literally, you can't play the way Dallas has played each of the last 2 weeks. And I'm being serious here. This is no shade, no bias, any of that. Because, I call it just how I see it. You can't have, I think they had 11 penalties against the Giants. At one point, they had 11 tonight. I don't know if they finished with the 12th. You can't have 11 penalties. Doesn't matter the yardage. 11 penalties is 11 penalties. You can't turn it over 3 times and think you're going to beat good quality opponents. Now, on paper right now, the Steelers are a good quality opponent. When the season's done, they'll probably be 9-8, and maybe they'll limp into the postseason. But the Steelers they're not good. We'll get into the Steelers here in a bit. But the Cowboys are going to have to play better if they want to beat better opponents. I'll just say that. They're going to have to play better if they expect to beat better teams. And I thought Dak played well. I thought Rico Dowdle showed up tonight. And that's encouraging if you're a Cowboys fan because the run game had been atrocious up until tonight. And so to see him run as hard as he did, as physically as it would have been a damn shame had that fumble been recovered by the Steelers at the end. For as well as he played tonight, no one would have talked about any of the accolades or any of the tough running that he had and how physically he played. Nobody would talk about any of that. They would have just talked about the fumble at the end. So I'm so glad that his night didn't end in that fashion. Although I was rooting for the Steelers to recover the damn fumble. Of course I was. But, for his sake, I'm glad that the game didn't end in that fashion because that would have just canceled out all of the good work that he had put in tonight. I also like the addition, and I've been saying this, me and my dad have been saying this, Boss is a Cowboys fan. We've been saying this for 2 years now. I don't understand why Cavonte Turpin isn't a bigger part of the offense. It just doesn't make sense. You're not that talented at receiver. You never have been. You got to go back to the Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb days when you were loaded at receiver. With the Boise State receiver as well. That last year of Cooper, the Boise State receiver that went to Miami in free agency, and a young CeeDee Lamb. That's the last time you were super duper talented at receiver. You haven't been since. So I don't understand for the life of me why Cavonte Turpin can't get more reps on the field somewhere, backfield, receiver. I don't give a shit. He's too talented and dynamic to not touch it more. And it took an injury to Brandon Cooks to get him out there more. And I that's inexplicable to me. That's poor coaching. But I shouldn't be shocked. You have a numbskull for a head coach. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is he was really good tonight. And they may have stumbled upon something. I don't know if they'll continue to do that, but he's a problem. He's a problem. Like, literally, you have CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, and that's it on offense. And Tolbert's nice, or at least he was tonight. I'm not buying Tolbert yet. The Steelers were playing 50 yards off. He ran a series of stop routes tonight. Easy pitch and catch receptions. So I need to see more from Tolbert. He seems to be coming on, though. And I liked him coming out of Southwest Alabama or wherever the hell he went to school at. I think he went to South Alabama. I liked him coming out, of college. So I'm not shocked if he ends up being a really solid receiver for you guys. He seems like he's starting to come of age. But I'm still not buying it. Got to see more. But this was a really good night for him. Obviously, the game-winning touchdown. I just thought overall, you got issues up front on the offensive line. I think Guyton getting hurt was a blessing. He stinks. I'm just going to tell you how I feel. He stinks. And I think Tyler Smith gives you a better shot at left tackle. I don't know too much about Bass at guard, but shit, it can't be any worse than Guyton's penalty having ass at left tackle, getting beat all the goddamn time. Much maligned offensive line. I still don't think it's a good group up front, but they got the job done. But I'm going to tell you right now, where I thought the game turned in the favor of the Cowboys was when Herbig got hurt. He's been so good for the Steelers, as Nate Herbig. And when he got injured, they didn't have anybody to play off of TJ Watt. Now all you had to do was focus all your energy on TJ Watt because Herbig is a problem over there. And he had been creating a massive problem all night. Every TJ Watt sack was a meeting at the quarterback with Herbig. And then he gets hurt, coincidentally enough, on a pressure where he gets to Dak Prescott, hits him, but somehow he manages to hurt his hamstring. That was a big play because after that, they got no pressure the rest of the night. Dak was able to stand back there pretty much with free range to throw the football the rest of the night because all you had to do was focus on TJ Watt at that point. But really surprised at how well the Cowboys ran the football tonight. That was impressive. Really impressed with the, patchwork group you were able to put out there. But again, it's the Steelers. It's the Steelers. So as much credit as I want to give you, it's the same shit I said about my Commanders today playing the Browns. As much credit as I want to give them, it's the Browns. It's Deshaun Watson. And so I can only give you but so much credit for doing to the Steelers what everybody else essentially has done, which is shut that offense down and make them one-dimensional. But to the Cowboys' credit, it had been a struggle for them this season defensively. And they made Daniel Jones, and look, Daniel Jones played well again today, but they made Daniel Jones look like Cardale Jones at Ohio State. So this was a much better performance defensively for Dallas. All in all, with all the miscues, blocked field goal, 3 turnovers, at least 11 penalties, you somehow managed to win a 20-17 game. That takes a lot of moxie. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude because that's a lot of adversity to overcome. And credit has to be given where it is due to go into Pittsburgh. That is not an easy place to play, obviously, on a Sunday night. You knew what kind of day it was going to be. Then it starts raining and all of that good stuff. It just felt like a stage set for the Steelers to find a way to win. And you guys didn't allow it to happen. That's a big win for the Dallas Cowboys. But at the end of the day, big win for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how sustainable this is. It kind of feels like Pittsburgh. Don't know how sustainable this is. Don't know how sustainable this is. Because when you see better teams like Baltimore, who'd you lose to in week 2? I don't remember who you lost to in week 2. But when you see better teams, this type of effort, you're still the same. Let's just get to the root of the issue. You're still the same undisciplined team that's prone to making mistakes. And until that changes, you can't beat quality opponents. That's the crux of my issue with Dallas is you can beat the Giants and you can beat the Steelers because they don't score points playing in this manner. But you can't beat quality opponents playing this way in the league with 11 penalties, 3 turnovers, and a blocked field goal. You won't win very many games doing that. Luckily enough for you, you found another team that is offensively adverse and points challenged. So even though you had all those mistakes, they couldn't score 20 and you win. You picked the right 2 teams to play those types of games against and get away with it. You do that next week against Detroit and you won't be as lucky. You do that against the Houston Texans, you won't be as lucky. You do that against San Francisco, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the 49ers. I haven't watched that game yet. Can't wait to see what the hell happened there. But I would imagine if you do that against San Francisco, you won't be as lucky there either. Right? So anyway, I digress. If you're the Steelers, man, I don't really have anything nice to say to the Steelers right now. Your defense has been pretty disappointing each of the last 2 weeks. Justin Fields gave you the best performance he's probably had in his NFL career last week, and you blew it because you couldn't get a stop defensively. You come back this week, and you let the Cowboys kind of go up and down the field. I mean, how many total yards in this game did the Cowboys have? I'd venture to say that the Dallas Cowboys probably had 450 yards of total offense in this game, if not more. I mean, it felt like they were doing whatever the hell they wanted to do pretty much all night. They just couldn't finish drives, right? Cowboys at 445 yards. It felt like it. The Steelers at 226 yards. This is not a good Cowboys defense. They had no Micah Parsons. They had no Tank Lawrence. Their secondary was ravaged by injuries. And all you can muster is 226 yards of total offense. It's a joke, right? This offense is a train wreck. And I was rooting for Justin Fields. I really, truly was. I said, Justin, you're coming off your best performance of your career. What do you have for an encore? And he showed up tonight on a big stage because here we are. This is an audition. We're trying to get you a starting job, bro. Trying to get you a starting job. And he looked just as pedestrian as the day is long tonight. Can't get you a job doing this shit. Can't get jiggy with this shit. Najee Harris reminded me why I didn't like him coming out of Alabama. Boy, is he slow as watching paint dry. God damn, it's like he running and ain't going nowhere, like he's stuck in quicksand. I'm like, where the hell is Jalen Warren at? They're like, he ain't here. I'm like, okay, well, where the hell is Cordero Patterson? He ain't here. Well, shit. Who is this bum you got back here next to Najee Harris? I don't know. Well, great. Awesome. Watching their offense is just hard. It's just hard. Like, they make the most routine shit tough. I see, like Najee had a toss. He got two blockers out in front, and neither one of them blocks the corner who makes the tackle. And Najee gets up and he looks at one of the dudes like, bro, what the is that? Like, they make the possible impossible on offense. They take the most routine, mundane task and turn that shit into something that you feel like, man, I don't know if this shit can be done. And you're like, bro, I've watched 25 teams do it today. Why can't you do it? It's a simple 5-yard game. Just do the basic requirements and you'll get 5 yards on this play. And they seem to not be able to just do the simple shit right. 5-yard stop. They can't do it right. Little boot. Get a guy out in the flat. They don't execute the simple shit correct. They make everything hard. They fight for every yard. It's 4th and 1, and I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna get this shit. How many 4th and 1s did they barely get tonight? We're like, they gotta measure. Everything is so hard. You're not playing Denver in the early stages of Bo Nix. And you're not playing against the Falcons in the first week of Kirk Cousins when he could barely move. You're not playing Justin Herbert on 1 foot. Teams that you could keep under 16 points so you could win. You actually got to score points in the NFL to win games in this league. And the Steelers just, like, how many years of this shit has it been that you can't score points? Like, seriously. You got to go back to, like, prime Ben Roethlisberger, the last time the Steelers could actually score 24 points and it wasn't a surprise. Surprise! Oh, shit, the Steelers scored 24 today. If they lose a game in which they scored 24, I don't know what to do. Because They don't know what to do with 24 points. They scored 24 last week and they give up 27. I don't get it. But you can't score 13 like you did against Denver. Can't score 18 like you did against the Falcons. You can't score these pedestrian amount of points and expect to beat somebody. This ain't 1992. I really, like, I understand the frustration of Steelers fans because this shit is hard to watch. And you got to watch this shit every week. And I don't know how the hell y'all do it. Like, I guess winning makes it a lot more palatable. You can stomach it a little bit better. If TJ Watt gets a big sack at the end of the game to salvage the victory, and you go, hey, we got another one. But you ain't beat nobody good scoring 17 points, man. Like, you almost got away with one because Dallas tried to implode. It would have took them having a fourth turnover down at the goal line for you to salvage this victory. You would have needed a fourth turnover, 11 penalties, and a blocked field goal to win 17-13. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. They gave you every opportunity to win this game, and you said, nah, bro, I'm good. I'm going to pass on it, man. I appreciate the offer, though. Another interception, Dak, you too kind. Nah, we good, man. Y'all go ahead and take this one. I mean, at some point, something's got to give. I can't put my finger on it. Different play callers, different quarterbacks, different skill group of guys. It's the same results. I almost don't know how to fix this shit. Because I've been watching, it's like I'm living in the Twilight Zone when it comes to the Steelers. I'm watching the same shit. Think about the last 5-6 times you watched the Steelers on primetime, what the game looked like. Just think about that in your head. Think about what it's looked like. Think about what the score was, if you can recall. They played the Raiders on a Sunday night last year. Ass. Raiders beat them, 16-13, some bullshit like that. They all look like this. Every single one of the games look like this. Like, when does it end? When does it end? This is when I knew, y'all ain't trying to win tonight. Let me tell you when I knew they weren't trying to win a game tonight. Here's when I knew they weren't trying to win tonight. The first third down of the game the Steelers had. It was 3rd and 8. They got into the red zone. It might not have been the first third down. It was the first third down in the red zone. The first possession when they kicked the field goal after Dallas went down and got a field goal. It's 3rd and 8. You know what these mother effers did? They ran a goddamn toss to the running back on 3rd and 8. And I went, are you going for this on 4th down or something? Did I miss something? Did you think it was 2nd down? Did you just run a toss on 3rd and 8? Pick up 4 yards and Mike Tomlin talking to Justin Fields doing this shit? Like, oh, you almost had it, Justin. You almost had it. Oh, man, you were close. Close to what? You just ran a toss on 3rd and 8. Is he a baby? Is he a puppy? Because if he's not, why the hell are you treating him as such? If you don't have enough confidence in your starting quarterback to throw the ball on 3rd and 8, what are we doing here? Why are we even here? What are we even practicing for? If that's the world you living in, you got no shot. What is this, 1982 Georgia? You think you got Herschel Walker? What you think you playing against Auburn's defense? Like, what are we doing here? A toss on 3rd and 8? And just kick a field goal and you're okay with that? That's what you wanted. That was the outcome you were looking for. Oh, okay. Clearly, you didn't want to win. You didn't want to score 20 points. No. 20 points. 20 points is a lot of points. What are we supposed to do with all them points? 20 points? You got 20 points. What are we supposed to do with 20 points? We didn't even know it could go that high. The first number can start with a 2. Yes, Mike. The first number can start with a 2. Yeah, that was what does the schedule for the Steelers look like here? I remember saying this last year when they made the playoffs. I said, I don't need the Steelers infiltrating my playoffs. I don't need that shit in my playoffs. I don't need them to somehow manage to sneak in the back door of the playoffs at 9-8 this year. I don't need that shit. Let's see who they got next. They got the Raiders, probably gonna beat them on some 19-8. The Raiders about to bench Gardner Minshew, probably win that game 19-16. Some bullshit next week. Then they got the Jets. The Jets are just dysfunctional enough that they could beat them on a. I don't really need to see that shit on Sunday Night Football. I really don't. In a couple of weeks, I would really appreciate it if you flex that shit out of Sunday night. Don't make me watch another one of these games, please. With the Jets offense looking the way it looks right now and the Steelers offense looking like it always looks, please don't make me do it. I feel like you got a gun to my head right now. Please don't make me sit through another Steelers primetime game. They ain't going to move it, though, because it's Aaron Rodgers and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then you got the Giants. See, you got a lot of games. The Browns stink. You got them twice. You got a lot of winnable games here, man. And that's the fear, is that you're going to find a way. Find a way. You're going to find a way to ease your way down that black and yellow brick road to 9-8 and mess around, win a tiebreaker or 2 and get the 7 seed. And then get your brains bashed in wild card weekend as a 7 seed by scoring 13 or 16 points and losing to somebody 27-16. Don't nobody need to see that shit, man. You got a receiver who is nice, but thinks he's nicer than what he is. Third down, ball go right through his damn hands. Want to talk all this shit in the world. Had a dumbass fumble last week. Then the quarterback throws you a pass. Was it a little high? Sure. But it went right through your goddamn hands. Easy ass catch. But want to talk all the shit in the world. Always got some shit to say. I can't do it with the Steelers, man. I don't have it in me, man. I don't have it in me. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into the odds. Go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS. We'll come back on the other side of that and get to the comment section.
Inside the odds.
Looking for a new book this football season? BetUS has you covered. We are now knee-deep in the season. We're going into the final game of week number 5. So you should be nice and comfortable by now. But if you're not betting with BetUS, what you doing, right? Fastest payouts in the industry. Get up to 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And here's the big one. 150% sign-up bonus on up to a deposit of $2,000 on your first deposit. And then on the next 2 deposits, 125% sign-up bonus when you use the promo code YouTube150. So as you can see, Steelers were a 1-point favorite in this game. You knew it was going to be tight. You knew it was going to be close. So, you know, that number was pretty spot on. The total was 43. I don't know if I thought they were going to hit over 43. I honestly didn't, because I couldn't see Pittsburgh getting, again, this was going to be a 16-10, 16-13, 17-13. I knew what kind of game it was going to be, which is why I told the Cowboys last Thursday, and which is why I had to tell them mistakes were made. I had to apologize because I said you can't play Steelers brand football. And they said, Louie T, shut your ass up. And they went out and played Steelers football and won, even though they had all those mistakes, all those turnovers, you know, a blocked field goal. They did everything in their power to try to lose, and the Steelers was like, nah. Don't worry about it. This one's on the house. Don't say we ain't never done shit for you. 43 was the total. That was easy money right there. Come on now. Steelers game with the total at 43. Unless the other team, like last week was, whoa, Steelers scored 24 points. And they lost at that. I mean, I was, when it was 17-0, when the Colts jumped them 17, I was like, wait a minute. What is going on right now? Most Pittsburgh Steelers games are going to fall under 40. Usually it falls under 40, let alone 43. Let's take a quick look at some Cowboys props here. Dak Prescott over under on passing yards, 241.5. He smoked that. 352 yards for Daiquiri tonight. He was pretty good. Like I said, but outside of the mistakes, and he had 3 of them, and they were big ones. They were costly because maybe Dallas wins this game comfortably, but this is a part of who they are. It's a part of their DNA and their fabric and their makeup. They're gonna make mistakes because they're a mistake-prone team. So they're gonna fumble. They're gonna have penalties. They're gonna make mistakes. And most weeks you're not going to be able to overcome it if you're playing a quality opponent that can take advantage of it. But Dak threw for 352. In order to win this game, I felt like they were going to have to be able to throw the football. And after watching the Steelers defense against the Colts a week ago, I thought Dallas could throw the football. So I would have taken the over there, right? Rico Dowdle, 39.5 yards. I would have taken the over on that as well because I watched Jonathan Taylor carve up this Steelers defense last week on the ground. Carved their ass up. Now, did I think he would be approaching 100 yards rushing? Hell no. If that number was 67, I would have been, nah, he ain't getting that many yards. But 39, that's a slap in the face. But with the way the Cowboys' run game had looked heading into this game, I get it. I understand. CeeDee Lamb, 78.5 yards. That's a good number. I don't think he hit the over on that. He went real silent after a fast start. He went real radio silent. 5 catches, 62 yards. You would have got me because I would have went over on that. In order for Dallas to win, Dak was going to have to throw for almost 300, and CD was going to have at least 115 of it. Ended up being Jalen Tolbert, 7 for 87. He was the Steeler killer tonight. So I would have got there. Check out the prop builder on BetUS. You put together your own props. Who's going to score a touchdown? Who's going to fall under this amount of yards? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? You can put together your own prop and set it up so you can make your own money. I played around with the prop builder. It's a lot of fun. And you can put together some pretty interesting prop bets yourself. All of this can be done on betus.com. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys are talking about real quick. Poopin' for Noopin. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Poopin' for Noopin writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Arthur Smith and or Tomlin going into their worst of Marty ball bag. So upset. Steelers should have had this game. Look, I don't ask other teams to do my dirty work. I don't need anybody else to do anything. I want you to win if you're the Steelers, but I don't need the Steelers to beat Dallas. This ain't the old days where we needed a hope and a prayer. We needed help from every other team in the league to try to help us get something accomplished. We can take care of our own business just fine, the way we set up. So I can tell you this much. If Dallas brings that shit to our doorstep, they want to turn it over 3 times, want to have 11 penalties, that kind of bullshit. Oh, we going to run their ass out the building, right? But that's a long ways away. Like I said, I don't like talking about games that I can't even see. That game is in week 12. We in week 5. Like I got nothing for you, right? I'm just trying to stack dubs right now. And I'll worry about the rest of that stuff later. Just keep stacking dubs. What they effectively did is they kept us from creating the type of separation that I wanted to create in this division. They stayed connected. right? With a loss, every team in the division but us would have had 2 wins. And that would have been beautiful to look up and say, you got the same record as the Giants. Ew. But they don't. They're 3-2. And let's look at their next slate of games, because the shit don't look as bad as it did, say, 2 weeks ago. 49ers are a mess right now, right? So let's see. They got their ass run. That's the team I forgot about, the Saints. They got their ass run out the building. Because if you make those type of mistakes against teams like the Saints, when they were playing the kind of ball, like, we could do that to you. If you're going to do this shit you did tonight or last week against the Giants, you can get 44 put on your skull. Like, that's the type of time we on, right? And so they got the Lions next week, the 49ers, then the Falcons, then the Eagles, then the Texans, okay? After the Lions game, they got a bye. After this Lions game coming up at home next week, America's game of the week, they have a bye week after that. Sucks because I won't be able to watch that game live. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll put it on my computer screen right in front of me, because I'll be live talking about the Washington game against the Ravens while that game is on live. So maybe I'll have that one on the screen in front of me. But 49ers on a Sunday night after the bye week. Maybe the 49ers have their shit together. Maybe they won't. Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Giants, Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, and obviously the Commanders are mixed in there twice. Once in week 12, which is right before that Giants game. So it goes Lions, Niners, Lions, bye, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Commanders, Giants, Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles, Commanders. Like, that shit is tough, man. Any way you slice it, that shit is tough. But, like, I could see the Lions getting in a slugfest with you, and if you could do what you did today minus the turnovers, I see you beating the Lions. Like, I've watched the Lions play down to their level of competition before. They did it against Arizona, but they still won. And I could see y'all getting in a fist fight with the Lions. And if the Lions, if the Jared Goff that I saw early in the season that looked like he was reverting back to his latter stages of his Rams days when Sean McVay couldn't wait to get rid of him, y'all can see y'all beating the Lions next week. Just depends on what Jared Goff shows up, right? They'll be fresh off of a bye, though, will the Lions this next week. So that'll be an interesting game there. Then you got the 49ers coming off your bye. Christian McCaffrey could be back. It sounds like he won't be back for that game. It'll be the next week after that. But, yeah, it's a tough schedule. And if the Cowboys somehow make it to the playoffs this year, because I don't see them as a playoff team right now. If they somehow make it to the playoffs, wow. They could be pretty battle-tested when they get there. But they're going to have to play a lot better than they did the last 2 weeks if they have any plans on making reservations in January. I respect Arthur Smith. I really, truly do. And I think some of this is being done at the behest of Mike Tomlin. But, I mean, this is some nasty work, man. I mean, that was literally some Marty ball. That was literally some 3 yards in a cloud of dust football. Like, if you don't trust Justin Fields that much, why do you even have him under center? You might as well put in Kyle Allen. He came in and had a 14 or 16-yard completion and looked competent. At this point now, I'm like, maybe I do need to see what Russ looks like, because I wasn't itching for that. I wasn't clamoring to see Russ get out there, because I don't know if Russ has his fastball anymore. Maybe I do need to see what Russ looks like in a Steelers uniform. I don't know if it's going to be that much better, but It can't be that much worse throwing a football than tonight because that shit was pathetic. The Cubo. What's up, man? It's been a little while. What up, Q? What's going on with you, man? Doing well, man. Hanging in there. Glad to hear from you. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Been a member for 20 months. What I saw today, let's sweep the hardest division. I have aspirations of sweeping the AFC North. I do. 2 down. Got the 2 Ohio teams. Knocked them 2 down already. 2 to go. The biggest test lies in front of us next week. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm celebrating the demolition of the Cleveland Browns. That's what we on right now. But I'm with it. If you with it, I'm with it. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, no, I'm being greedy, but I wanted a 40 burger. I think we all did. We all did. But it wasn't in the best interest of moving forward. Like, I don't need Jaden Daniels out on the field in a 34-6 game chasing a 40 burger when we got bigger fish to fry. We got our eyes on much bigger prizes than putting up an extra touchdown in this game. Everybody who watched knows if we wanted 40, we could have scored 40 today. No need to flex your muscles, right? As long as we know they work, that's all that matters. Pooping for Nooping, been a member for 5 months. Really appreciate you. Who writes, in your opinion, at week 5, which teams are for real? That's a podcast question. That's a podcast question. Obviously, we'll touch on that at some point. Because, I mean, after you get through this week, after we get this Monday night game, I think you got to start asking yourself, who's legit and who's not? I think we can start to decipher what's what. And obviously, it's a week-to-week league. And, you know, what did I tell y'all about Buffalo? Well, I tell y'all, after they destroyed Jacksonville, I said, we going to find out. It was before that when they beat somebody. I think it was on the primetime too. It was their week 2 opponent was on primetime. And I don't remember who it was. It was the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football when they beat up the Dolphins. And we started looking ahead, and I said, they're going to beat Jacksonville, which they destroyed them 47-10. I said, they're going to beat Jacksonville. But after that, we're going to find out what they made of. It's on Sunday night on the road at Baltimore. The following week, it's a 1 o'clock kick at Houston. After that, they come home for the Jets. That's a Monday night game. And then the next week after that, I think they got one more tough opponent. And I'm like, well, no. And what have they done? Lost 2 straight. Well, no. We'll find out. Josh Allen was awful today. We'll find out real quick. Same thing with these Cowboys. We'll find out real quick what they're about. We'll find out. Because these last 2 games, and I don't want to discredit the Steelers because we looked at that as a tough game. And it was. They had to fight and scratch and claw for this. But moving forward, you're getting teams, and you know, something that might help Dallas. Nico Collins injured his hamstring today. And they got no, they don't have the Texans anytime soon. By the time they get to the Texans, Nico should be back. He should be back healthy, ready to rock and roll. It'll be all the teams that they're about to play. Detroit, San Francisco, Houston, they can all score points. They can all score points. And all of those teams defensively get after it. Now, Detroit, we'll see. I was impressed with them the first, 3 weeks of the season. Last week, not so much against Seattle. But with their offensive line woes, Aiden Hutchinson might have 2 or 3 sacks or at least draw 2 or 3 holding penalties. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about that on the podcast, though. Jensen Richards, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Ravens game is going to be big. Ravens game is going to be big. You think? It's going to be massive, Jensen. Massive. That's all anybody's going to want to talk about this week. They tried to get it flexed to Sunday night for a reason. They tried to get it flexed to Sunday night for a reason. All right. Let's get in the comment section. See what y'all talk about. Mustango. Steelers' next move should be to start Russell Wilson. Fields reminds me of a trap card. Gives you another option at a weakness, mobile quarterback, but takes away his strength passing the football. You, of all people, would know. You just had Russell Wilson. If I'm not mistaken, Mustango, you're a Broncos fan, if memory serves me correct. That's what I'm saying. Like, it sucks because Fields' legs up until tonight, and I'm really disappointed that he didn't use his legs in off-schedule situations a little bit more tonight. A lot of his runs were on designed, called runs. They weren't like Fields in the pocket, play breaks down, and he takes off and runs. I thought there was more opportunities for him to do that, and then he would try to throw it, and it would be errant. And you take away the red zone threat because the Steelers have been really good in the red zone because of Fields' legs. You insert Wilson, you lose a lot of that, but maybe what you lose in his ability to run, you gain in the ability to throw the football. And this is a passing league. You got to be able to throw the football. You got to be able to throw the football. So you might be right. It might be time. It might be time. Let's see. All right. Carson. Right. Several teams done sold today, and I'm pissed. A lot of incompetence from some of these teams we expected to win. Give me an example. I guess you're mad at the teams that didn't beat NFC East teams like Seattle and Pittsburgh. I mean, that's what the league is, man. Straight up and down. Straight up and down. That's what the league is all about. It's finding ways to get it done. And, family business, is what it's all about. And so while I can't wait to watch the Arizona game because I want to see what the hell happened. It's family business. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's see. What are y'all in here in this comment section talking about, man? Y'all here talking about a whole bunch of craziness. HCTR Carson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Or HCTR Carson writes, start with a reasonable record, mess around in the middle, rattle off 4 out of their final 5, finish 9-8, 7 seed. F them. That's the Steeler motto. That's their approach, right? Is they never get too far out of the mix to where they're not relevant. So we'll get to week 13 and they'll be, 5-6 at week 13. And, you're looking like, Pittsburgh, whatever. And like you said, they'll rattle off 4 out of 5 late. You'll look up and there the Steelers are at 8-7 down the stretch with 2 to go. And you're like, I know these Bamas ain't about to try to make the playoffs again. And all they got to do is win 1 out of their final 2 games, right? And usually how it goes is they play one of them AFC North teams at the end that don't need the game. They've already clinched the spot, won't do nothing for them. They rest their guys. The Steelers play their players, win the game, get to the playoffs, only to get beat by Buffalo or Kansas City or some other team highly seeded, and they go home, right? And I remember a Steelers fan saying, man, I'm sick of this shit. And I was like, you're sick of winning. And, you know, obviously when you don't have shit, you look at other people's situation and you like, man, you don't know how good you got it. Now that we got a real situation, I get it. I understand. That's tough to watch every week. That's tough to watch every week. It's tough. That's a tough product to watch every single week. Comasel Brown. So we have already won 4 games, and Lou got the Steelers a done deal. How many games are we going to win this season? I don't know. Again, I don't count victories before we get them. You know, I take each game as it comes. So as I've said already, I'm enjoying this Browns victory. We got all the way until Wednesday to enjoy that. Then we turn our attention to the Ravens on Wednesday, and we see if we can't put another, brick in the left-hand column come Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. So it's like I said, and we've talked about this before, it's a lot of winnable games on the schedule, but winnable doesn't mean you win them. You still got to go out and take care of business. So we got to find a way to do exactly that. DJ 23 writes, Sam Darnold gonna finesse a team out of the bag next year the way he planned. No, he's not. Nobody's giving Sam Darnold starters money next year. Like, everybody knows who Sam Darnold is. Okay. This is effectively Case Keenum doing what he did in Minnesota back in 2017. Like, it's no different. You're not going to get to the bag after this. Somebody will give you an opportunity. Didn't he get a deal from Denver the next year? Let me see what that. You might be right. Case Keenum might have finessed the Broncos out of a little bit of money after that. Case Keenum, Denver Broncos. You might have been right. He might have finessed them out of a bag. I don't think anybody's going to fall for that banana in the tailpipe contract. He said, no, I mean, that's a 2-year, $36 million. Yeah, that's high-end backup, low-level starter, elite bridge starting quarterback money, right? That's what I see Sam Darnold playing himself potentially into. One of them type contracts where I know, like, that's what they signed him in Minnesota to be, right? They know they got their quarterback of the future in J.J. McCarthy. He was supposed to just serve as a bridge, and now he's playing out of his gourd. But it doesn't change the fact that they still got J.J. McCarthy, and he's still the future in Minnesota, right? So I don't know how long of a contract he signed. Maybe it was just a 1-year deal in Minnesota. If that's in fact the case, I could see somebody signing him to like a 2-year, $27 million deal next year, something like that. 2 years, $30 million, right? I mean, hell, if you're the Raiders and you end up in this precarious spot again where you can't get your hands on one of these quarterbacks, he's an upgrade over goddamn, Gardner Minshew. But how many of these low-level bridge quarterbacks do you need on your roster? Because I think they signed Gardner to a 2-year deal as well. And I don't know if they have an exit ramp after 1, but they already benched his ass. So that shit ain't going well. And I'm going to tell you right now, Antonio Pierce seems a bit too impulsive for me in Vegas. But we'll talk more about that on the next podcast episode. There's a lot to get to, for sure. Comasell Brown. Man, I have no clue who the Dolphins quarterback is that beat Tank and Pats, but damn, Russell Wilson has to be better than him. Why are they not looking for an upgrade? They had Tyler Huntley at quarterback. That's the dude we watched on Monday Night Football against the Titans. Tyler Huntley. But if you're the Steelers, are you trying to move Russell Wilson? You don't know if Russell Wilson can upgrade your quarterback position or not. I'm not saying that somebody didn't pick up the phone and call and inquire, but what has Russell Wilson done in the last 2 years to make anybody think that he's the answer to their issues at the quarterback position? So now the beauty of a Russell Wilson is his contract is so minuscule because he's getting paid all that money from Denver still that it would make a lot of sense for a team that needed a quarterback to go calling because it's not going to cost you anything. He's making league minimum. But if I'm Pittsburgh, that's all the more reason to keep him on my roster. He's cheap, and he could end up being the answer to my offensive woes. Probably not, is my guess, but you just don't know. You got to put him in and find out. So we'll see. OTV Don writes, who has the worst quarterback in the NFC East? I mean, is that even a real question right now? It's still Daniel Jones. Still Daniel Jones. He played well again today, though. He's doing that 2022 thing again, right? I love the way he's giving these Giants fans some hope. And all the while, keeping them from any realistic shot at getting the kind of quarterback that they need to really move the needle. I swear I want them to end up with one of these bums at quarterback because at some point they're going to get tired of waiting and they're just going to reach. They're just going to reach. I can't wait to see it. Steel City. That's my guy, Steel City, who said, I'm sick and tired of barely making the playoffs. Haven't heard from you in a while, Steel City. Good to hear from you. Steel City says, I thought we finally had a promising QB option with Fields, as did I. But now I'm not sure. You're still going to tell me not to be upset with this mediocrity? I see it now. It took me a while to get to it. See, this is the problem. And this is what I always tell fans of other teams who try to tell me about my team. You can't possibly begin to understand the plight of the Commander fan if you're not a fan. And it was coming from a place of my situation ain't shit, and I would trade places with you in a heartbeat because my situation won't shit. But now I have a different perspective because I'm no longer in that same headspace. And I'm looking at your situation and I'm looking at it from the lens of a Steelers fan and saying, how can I sit here and possibly look at this shit objectively and not say that this isn't good enough? And I don't want to keep watching the same shit over and over again. It's like you live in the Twilight Zone. I get it now, Steel City. I've seen it from your vantage point. I was seeing it from mine, and you can't do that. So that's my mistake. Me malo. I see it now. I see exactly the frustration that you spoke of and why you were so frustrated when you guys made the playoffs last year. Like, I don't even want to go. I get it now. I do. And I, too, thought you had something in Justin Fields. And look, maybe tonight was just a rough night, but I don't know if I keep doing a song and dance with his ass either. I thought you had something. Last week might have been an aberration instead of, oh, look at where he's trending. I really was hoping tonight he would continue on that upward trajectory that we saw last week at Indy, and he took a massive step backwards, and he looked more like the dude we saw in week 1 against Atlanta and week 2 against Denver than he did against. Even the Chargers game wasn't bad. He didn't even look that good tonight. This was a massive regression back to the week 1 and 2 weeks Justin Fields, and that shit ain't good enough. You just so happen to be playing two teams that were in really tough situations scoring the football early in the season. You play Denver now with the confidence that Bo Nix has and that defense has, you wouldn't beat them now. Not doing that 13-6 shit you did in week 2. Wouldn't get it done. You play Atlanta now with the Kirk Cousins that can actually move around, guarantee you wouldn't win that game 18-10. Guarantee it. So I get it now. I understand, Steel City. SP, if we beat the Ravens, I'm going to be reckless. 16-1 only if we beat the Ravens, though. There's no way you go through the rest of the season not losing a game. That's not happening. But, hey, talk reckless to your heart's content. We beat the Ravens. I'm going to be talking reckless, too. Not that reckless, but I'll be talking reckless, too. And I understand why. Mustango. Right? Justin Fields reminds me of a trap card. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that one already. And you're not wrong. I see it. I definitely see it. All right, so that was the last comment that was addressed to me. You know what? It wasn't a bad game. It was what I expected. It's classic Pittsburgh Steelers. Cowboys eked it out. I was impressed with their grit and toughness tonight because I didn't think they could out the Steelers in that kind of a football game, but that's exactly what they did. They turned it over 3 times, almost nearly turned it over a 4th and final time. They had 11 penalties. They had a field goal block. They did everything in their power to lose this game, and the Steelers simply could not get a stop when they needed to. This vaunted Steelers defense it doesn't look all that great to me, and I get it. They've got some injuries. You know, Highsmith, that's a big injury. I thought Herbig was playing his ass off the last few weeks. Really sick to my stomach to see him get injured because he was a difference maker in this game. And I really felt like Cowboys really started to have all the time they wanted in the pocket. Dak started to get really comfortable when Herbig left the game. And this defense, for as good as it seems like it is on paper, the points that they give up, et cetera, I don't know if it's really that good of a defense. Because it feels like you can move the ball on the Steelers. Feels like you can move the ball on the Steelers. I watched Indy do it last week. I watched Dallas do it this week. And so I got questions. Obviously, more questions than I had 2 weeks ago. That's for sure. But I digress. Cowboys get it done. 20-17. Epic finish. Jalen Tolbert, 4th and goal touchdown from the 4-yard line, I believe, as Dallas was down to their last down. He had just gotten injured on the 3rd down. They called a timeout. Then the Steelers called a timeout. And I know Steelers fans have complained about Tomlin's game management. I saw a little bit of that tonight. You know, the 12 men on the field timeout. I'm like, are you really willing to risk a timeout for a 5-yard penalty when the Cowboys still got to go, 65 yards for a touchdown? Are you really willing to call a timeout to avoid a 5-yard penalty here? Like, that's not the type of time I'm on. No, I don't want to give up a 5-yard penalty, but a timeout is way more valuable in a game. You see where the shit's going. A timeout is way more valuable than a 5-yard penalty. Sorry, you can have the 5 yards. 1st and 5. Good luck. You still got to go 65 yards to score a touchdown. Knowing that the Cowboys could score on this final play, you're going to call your last timeout, knowing that you got a field goal kicker. Like Justin Fields threw that pass. Even if the shit was completed, it was 7 seconds left. You're not getting another snap off because you don't have no timeout. And so I'm thinking you wasted 2 timeouts in the 4th quarter of a close ball game, knowing that you might need a timeout at the end of this game. Anyway, I digress. Cowboys are now 3-2. So are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Feels like 2 teams heading in totally opposite directions. Steelers started out 3-0. They've lost 2 straight. They may be able to get their footing back next week. They got the Raiders. That seems like a very winnable game. We'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, Dallas, after starting the season off 1-2, has now won 2 games in a row. And they're trending in the right direction. And they got a big one next week at home against Detroit prior to their bye. So we'll see what they're able to do. If they go into the bye on a high note, winning 3 straight, including a win over a team that was one of the NFC championship teams a season ago, knowing that they come off the bye and they'll be playing the other team that was in the NFC championship game last season, or will they go into the bye at 500 at 3-3 after an up and down start to the season? We will see. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Shout out to everybody that hung tough with your man tonight, because obviously we had the long delay, and so I know that a lot of y'all, this is past your bedtime. You know, it's pretty late. So shout out to everybody who's kicking it with the kid in spite of that long delay and all of the stoppages that we had throughout the course of the game. And also want to give a quick shout out to BetUS. Looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. Use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on up to a $2,000 deposit on your first deposit, 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits thereafter. Use the promo code YouTube150. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care. God bless, and good night.